Welcome everyone to Self Principle. As always, I'm Dr. Hashmi. Now today's topic is actually one that is really, really important. In a world of social media and all sorts of internet connectedness, people think that they actually have more friends and more connections than ever before. But it turns out it couldn't actually be further from the truth. In fact, this concept of social isolation, which is really having less physical contact with people, sitting down for a coffee, having a nice meal, talking to friends, all of that has changed into likes and comments and so forth. And it's creating a sense of social isolation. But what's really concerning about this concept of social isolation is the impact that it has on your health. So what the data shows is that these concepts like social isolation, like this idea of loneliness, it's actually linked with a 29% increase in the risk of heart attack, in the risk of cardiovascular death, and there's even a 32% increase in the risk for stroke or stroke-related death. This is a tremendous amount of impact that simply not being able to see friends, build those close relationships can have. So the biggest advice you can take from this is put the phone down. Try to create meaningful relationships. You don't need 50 friends. You just need 2 or 3 close friends that you can build those relationships, that you can have those conversations with. And as much as social media is great, it's always important to have that as a limit on there. The other thing is if you're somebody who's already had one of these things, a heart attack or a stroke, it turns out that social isolation is one of those factors that can actually be a very strong predictor for worse outcomes, meaning first heart attack, your risk of a second heart attack or even death is significantly higher if you have social isolation going there. Now, when it comes to things like connectedness and having friends and so forth, is there such thing as a number that makes sense? It turns out that if you have 3 or less social contacts per month, that in itself is linked to about a 40% increase in the risk of a recurrent stroke or heart attack. So God forbid, if you've already had a heart attack or stroke, try to focus on your family, focus on your friends, build those relationships. Listen, if there's some reason you're angry at somebody, let it go. It's not worth the stress it's going to put on you. Anger is one of those things that doesn't hurt the other person as much as it ends up hurting yourself. And then the last part of all of this stuff, as you think about it, is we have a growing population that is starting to suffer from things like dementia, Alzheimer's. And even though the link between social isolation and dementia isn't as strong as it is for heart attack and stroke, there is still a link. So if you're watching this, the one message that I can have for you is, please work on those relationships. If you have anything that anybody did to you, let it go. It's not worth it. And if I'm one of those persons that did something to you, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, life is short. We just need to try to make sure that we make the best of it. The goal here is that we're running, we're kicking, we're laughing, we're having a great time all the way until the last day that we have of this little short timeline, instead of being able to be tied to a bed and not be able to do any of the things that we want for 5, 10, 15 years or whatever is left. So make the most of your life. If you have a question or if you want to hear about a topic, send me an email, selfprinciple@gmail.com. Thanks so much.